Ahoy there folks, I'm Captain Benzie and welcome to another video for EVE Echoes. In today's video I'm here at Masuna Island Fishing Resort, which is run by my mother and father-in-law. We come out here from time to time to spend, well, time with them and enjoy some of the great Zimbabwean outdoors and scenery. I'll put some stuff up on screen now. In today's video though, I wanted to sit and talk with you all about why I think many people in EVE Echoes simply just aren't having as much fun as they could be. This is part of that video I keep promising to make on why the community is its own worst enemy sometimes, but ultimately I thought this one deserved actually breaking down individually and having a bit more of a straightforward discussion on. Now, ultimately, this video is just going to be me talking to the camera, so you can treat this one, again, a bit like a podcast. I might put a couple of bits of footage up here and there if there's something I really want to showcase, but for the most part, it's just going to be you, me, and my thoughts here in the great wilds of Zimbabwe. Anyway, without further ado, I think it's worth just jumping straight in on this one. Why I think most people aren't having as much fun as they should be, or indeed, we could just call this why I haven't covered the Apocalypse Striker yet. EVE as a concept is all about it being a sandbox, right? It's about going out and having fun in ways that you enjoy. And yes, I think there is a certain comparison to be made that if you were to look at EVE Online, a game that's nearly 2 decades old, and compare it to EVE Echoes, a game that is just coming up on its 2nd anniversary, then definitely, we are missing content. For me, as someone who enjoys flying small ships like the frigates, destroyers and cruisers, I would love to have things like abyssal dead spaces, more interesting stuff in exploration, for example, or the hacking minigame for a start. I think mining belts could probably have rats. There's lots of interesting stuff I could talk about content that we could have that would make the game more exciting. But I think as well that's missing the point. It's not about the developers giving you content, it's more about you taking what the developers have put into the game and making content with it. Back in the days, like courier contracts are another big one here. This wasn't something that necessarily people were doing early on. It's not a function that was in the game at the start. But players wanted the ability to send stuff to someone else, that someone else would then transport it across the galaxy and then send it back to you. We can kind of do this, sort of, with like standard contracts as they are in the game, and heck, if you wanted to set up a freighting corporation, you could easily open up a Discord and advertise it and get that to work outside of the game. The developers then just took that concept and placed it in the game. Lots of this kind of stuff is stuff that the community comes up with first, and then the developers find ways to support it that little bit better. So there is a certain onus on the player base to take what the developers give you, to have fun with it, to do new and exciting things, and then let the developers support that further down the line. And it's not just hauling, there's all kinds of stuff, like we have ore buyback programs. I think this was summed up quite nicely recently. I was talking to Auto Mechanic about various different goings on, setting up my outpost to actually collect PI and so on. And we were talking about how reprocessing is just a ridiculously good way to make minerals, to the point that you can make as many minerals with, if you're a Noctis, jumping into sites in Claralam and just hoovering up other people's loot, which I've been doing quite a lot recently. You can make a filthy amount of money doing that, and I honestly think that you're making more minerals doing that than you are by flying a Procurer or a Coveter. I don't know anymore. It used to be more than a Procurer at Tech 9, so it's more than a Procurer at Tech 8, but I don't know if it's still more than the Coveter. I'd need to run the math on that one a bit better. And he pointed out to me that Void do this thing where they pay the rate for minerals, so if a miner gives you ore, if a miner goes with our ore buyback program, for example, the Alliance will buy that ore at a decent rate. But if you want to give them the minerals, because you've just reprocessed a load of green loot, that actually comes in at a lower rate. And they've done this specifically to make sure that it incentivizes mining over reprocessing. And you could argue, and I would argue, that the developers should be sorting this out themselves, right? That there's no good reason that reprocessing should ever be better than the equivalent tech level ship in mining. If a Noctis can reprocess better loot than a Procurer can, those are both Tech 8 ships. One of them is a mining ship that is literally designed to do that. The other is just a looting ship. There's an imbalance there that the developers should step in on. So I agree that there are certain points where the developers do need to step in and make those calls, make those changes and those balanced decisions. And immediately I want to say that I know there are some people watching this video whose first thought then was, yes, Benzie, but they don't do that, do they? The developers are never going to do that. They're never actually going to fix everything. And to that, I'm going to say, look, I think there's a point where we have to stop moaning at things that, you know, we're inventing windmills to tilt at, to use a certain phrase from Don Quixote. But hey, there is enough in the game that we can actually look at and try to improve. Don't go looking for more stuff outside of it, yeah? And I'll be the first to point out when netties make a mistake in the game, but I'd rather let them make that mistake than to just, like, bitch and moan about it before it's even happened. But I digress. Why aren't people having fun? I think, simply put, people aren't having fun because we're too stressed with finding the most optimum way of having fun. I think that if you say to someone, oh, I'm interested in combat, what's the best ship for me? People are going to go, oh, you need an Apocalypse Striker, that is by far the best ship, and it's not. It's not. Like, first of all, you're ignoring carriers and stuff like that for combat, but second, you've not even asked the question, what combat are you doing? The question of what is the best ship, to me, is always going to be a very personal question. It's not about this ephemeral, which one ship out of all of the ships in EVE Echoes is best. You immediately start getting, oh, but, and all these different examples. Oh, this is the best ship to cost factor. One that, you know, it's the best ISK per hour compared to the cost of the ship. This is the best one if you just want flat damage. This is the best one if you want to snipe. This is the best, and this is my point. I have witnessed way too many conversations recently on my own Discord, on the official EVE Echoes community Discord, where people say, what is the best ship? And other people just answer. And you can't do that. You cannot do that because you're not giving an honest answer. Like a conversation that came up recently that I think is an excellent example of this. I was talking about the healer, the Gurustis Pirates Healer. It's Hilo, it's named after the Healer monster. Anyway, let's not go down that one. I was talking about the Healer and why I really enjoy flying, and someone saying, oh, the Phantasm is so much better for what you want to do, which is I want to be able to fly around in nullsec, find myself Tech 8 Inquisitors, Scouts, and Dead Spaces. To me, the Healer is the better option than the Phantasm, and they're saying, oh yeah, but the Phantasm can do it faster, it's got better tank, it's gonna... And I'm sitting here saying, you're missing the point. I don't have medium laser skills, therefore the healer is going to be a better option for me. Oh, but you could just lose the drone skills because they're useless, or the missile skills because they're useless in my opinion, and you could swap to the Phantasm. One, that means I'm going to have to pay, or at least use Lazarus units and then probably still not have enough, to swap the weapon system. Secondly, I don't really enjoy lasers all that much. I will be the first to say that lasers are probably overall the most powerful weapon system in Echoes at the moment. But I don't enjoy them. I don't find them fun. And for me, I'm also flying things like the Stratios. And what weapons does the Stratios use? That's right, drones. So I don't want to get rid of my drone skills because I quite like the fact that the Stratios is another ship that I fly. I also fly the Arbitrator Covert Ops series quite a lot, and those use medium drones. I also fly the Bellicose Covert Ops line quite a lot, and those use missiles, so I don't want to get rid of my missile skills or my drone skills, because they help me fly other ships that I enjoy for different types of content. I don't do one type of content in the game. So for me, the Phantasm is not the best option. It doesn't matter that the Phantasm might make more ISK per hour. It's not fun for me, and it doesn't use the skills that I want to use. I really like the way the healer looks, and I just enjoy flying it, you know? There was a post on Reddit this morning that I saw that was the one that made me say, no, today I'm sitting down and recording this. A guy saying, is it just me or are lasers actually really bad? And I'm sitting there and I read that title and I'm like, are you, what? Lasers are solid. Lasers are, in my opinion, probably the most well-rounded, powerful system in Echoes. They are excellent for ratting. They are excellent for PvP. There are so many situations where lasers just outshine other options. If you're looking at flying faction frigates, for example, the Succubus at the moment is the king of those. Like, the Daredevil is just nothing in comparison anymore to what the Succubus can do. Once you start going up to the higher tech levels, yet again, we come back to the Apocalypse Striker, and that being the meta ship for Tech 10 PvE. For ratting, going to Claralam and shooting rats and things. For the cost of an Apocalypse Striker and its full fit, you could also look at something, as an example, say a Maelstrom Striker. Now, a Maelstrom Striker is going to do pretty well in Clarilam because it's going to be using cannons which do a lot of damage to the armor tank ships that are available in Clarilam's anomalies, right? Yeah, okay, the lasers are going to chew through those shields, but the Maelstrom can do that. The Maelstrom will survive that and will still pull through. The Hyperion using snub-nose railguns, absolutely, will still do fantastically in Clarilam. It's armor tanked, which means it's going to take less damage, and the snubs with the kinetic and thermal are going to be very good at applying their damage to the rats in those anomalies. If you wanted to take the rock and fit it as a sniper, that is something that absolutely you could do, and it will work for you. Heck, why go for just the Apocalypse Striker with beams? Couldn't you also go for something like an Abaddon with pulse lasers? Yes, you could, and that 100% would also work. People have this idea that this one ship is going to be best, and is it going to be best? Because you can actually look at this, and you could say, well, okay, I've got the Apocalypse Striker, and this guy's using a Megathron Striker, and he's actually getting more ISK per hour than I am. And this guy can then say, well, actually, rather than the Megathron Striker, I've actually upgraded to the Vindicator, and I'm finding that's even faster. And you can say, well, yes, but the Vindicator then costs a lot more ISK than these other ones do, so it's a bigger investment for a bigger return, but it's going to take a longer time to get that ship back into an ISK positive state. So you can measure a ship by how quickly it becomes ISK positive. You can measure a ship by how much ISK per hour it can make. I think people are not stopping to think about how to measure a ship by fun. And to me, that's the key point here, that it's very easy to sit there and say, this ship is best, because it's the one that you have found success with, ignoring the fact that that ship may rely on skills that the other player doesn't have, or indeed doesn't want. It may be a playstyle that someone doesn't like. I have been asked many times to do a video on the Apocalypse Striker and talk about this ship because it's such a big thing in the meta, and every time I undock it, I die a little bit inside because I don't like the look of the ship. I don't like the playstyle of that ship is promoting for those anomalies. Yeah, it's good, but it's not fun. Why are you playing? Why are you playing this game? People who come to me and say, oh, I'm getting really bored with the game, what can I do? And when I drill into that conversation and talk to them, it turns out they had a ship that they were really enjoying flying, and they spec'd out of it because everyone told them that the Apocalypse Striker is best. So now they log into the game, they undock the Apocalypse Striker, they sit at range and blap everything, then move to the next anomaly and rinse, repeat all day. And when I say, well, why are you doing this? Oh, it's the best ISK per hour. I'm earning more ISK than I was in my previous ship. Okay, cool, fair point. What are you doing with that ISK? Oh, nothing. I've already upgraded my ship to full B-types, and I don't see the point in going any higher than that. My nanocore is pretty much fully upgraded as well, so I just undock and I shoot things to earn ISK. What is that ISK doing for you? What is that ISK doing for you other than just creating some mythical high score? It's not doing anything. It's actually damaging the market other than, you know, anything else, because the more people you have just sitting on hordes of it. I'm not going to go into the economic thing here. There's many videos I've covered that in. Ultimately, what are you doing? Why are you playing a game just to increase the amount of ISK you have when you're not buying anything with that ISK? That ISK's not doing anything for you. Yeah, okay, when I undock my Hurricane on Silent Rose into Tech 10 small encounters, yeah, I'm not earning nearly as much as I could be in other ships. I've got a Macariel on Silent Rose, for crying out loud, that earns a lot more ISK per hour, but I undock the Hurricane more. Why? Because I enjoy it. That actually undocking that Hurricane and flying it manually, because you have to once you hit the medium anomalies, you have to actually manually pilot. That to me is so much more fun than sitting there in a Macariel at 0, just putting on auto lock and auto shoot back and just putting your phone down, coming back an hour later and you've made ISK. It's why I skilled out of the Typhoon 2 on Benzie, because that's what I was doing. I was literally undocking, having local open, and then just auto orbit on, orbiting at the, about 5 kilometers inside the missile max, and I was just auto orbiting, auto shooting, and playing the game on auto, and it bored me. Because what was the point in buying any other ships? Like, I could earn all this cool ISK and buy myself then a Blackbird 3 Covert Ops because I wanted to try it, or I could buy the Bellicose 3 Covert Ops, the second one, in case I lost the first one. But I wasn't undocking them, because why would I? The Typhoon was easier and, like, earning more ISK, right? That was the point where I stopped and went, hang on a second. I'm not playing this game anymore. I'm working at this game. This game has become a job for me. And I love my job. My job is the game, you know, but you know what I mean? When your game has office hours, when you feel that you need to log in order to earn the amount of ISK, and that ISK is not then actually doing anything for you, you have to stop and ask yourself, what are you actually doing with your time? I skilled out of battleships on Benzie. I kept the large missile skills because I'm still hoping one day that maybe the bombers will be fixed. But other than that, I got rid of every single skill I had in battleships. I got rid of battleship command from Expert 4 all the way down to 0. None. All the battleship defense, all the battleship engineering, all of those skills with battleship in the name, gone. Because I didn't want them. They weren't doing anything fun for me. They were helping me earn ISK on Benzie, but I didn't have a use for that ISK. So I took all of those skill points out of battleships, and I put them full on into exploration. Now, exploration is not a good ISK maker right now. There's no two ways about it. It's not a good ISK maker. But I'm engaged in the game. I'm talking to people in Alliance chat and Corp chat again. I'm flying around and actively playing the game and having fun seeing what I can find. Undocking a Noctis into Claralam and jumping into people's anomalies and looting it quickly before the enemy rats lock onto me and escaping, that's been more fun than undocking a battleship. It hasn't earned me as much, but it's been more fun. The exploration has been the most fun, but it's earned me very little overall. But it doesn't matter, because what am I going to use that ISK on anyway? If I'm enjoying exploration, I've got my Astero, and yeah, I could probably rig the Astero a bit higher. I could probably upgrade some of the C-types to B-types and stuff like that, but why would I? What is the reason for that? So the ISK isn't important to me. I'm looking more at what I can actually do in the game to have fun. And that's the point of this video, to get you to stop just farming ISK. What is ISK doing for you? If you're working towards something, fair point. I get it. If you're sitting there in a Megathron Striker and you're using it whilst you save up ISK to get yourself a Vindicator, or if you're in one of these ships and you're skilling into carriers in the background and you want to work your way into that, I get the urge to earn ISK. But make sure that what you're working towards is still something you're going to be enjoying. Because I've heard way too many people sitting at Tech 9 not having fun, waiting to get into another battleship that they're not going to have fun with, rather than actually playing the game. They're too busy trying to make ISK, which they think you need to play the game, and then going, oh, I'm not actually having fun. EVE is about what you do with your friends. It's not about what you do solo. And I can understand that if you log in every day to no friends, no one to talk to, and nothing going on other than you undocking into Claralam and blapping some Blood Raiders for a few hours, I can understand how that gets boring. Maybe you need to stop and think about why that's getting boring for you, and maybe you need to find something you actually enjoy doing in the game. Find some friends, go on some roams, try exploration, try using a more challenging ship. Undock something silly and go looking for some PvE. Heck, see how difficult you can do in a destroyer. I had endless fun undocking the Thrasher 3 Interdictor recently and just seeing what anomalies I could do with it. Yeah, I lost a couple. It was still fun. Anyway, folks, maybe I'm just talking crazy at the moment. Maybe you're sitting here watching toward the end of this video going, Benzie, what the hell are you yammering on about? And maybe it's about time I wrapped this up. But maybe it's given you a pause to go, actually, maybe I should try that. ISK is just the thing you need to make sure you've got a ship as a backup. Once you've got a backup, who cares about the ISK? Get out there and have some fun. I'm Captain Benzie, happy sailing, and see you in New Eden.